with Halloween coming up, I've been really getting in the mood for some spooky movies and shows. But because I'm a weirdo who likes to find horror in weird and unexpected places, like the local gym locker room as a child, oh god. On a serious note, what the hell was up with those gym bathrooms? Why were we all collectively scarred by seeing old men's junk? Like, why? Well, anyways, as I was saying, around this time of year, I often find myself gravitating to many Adult Swim shows, and sometimes even movies. You've got your Shivering Truth if you want to experience Xavier Renegade Angel narrate genuinely unhinged stories that could have only come from the creator of that show. And guess what? It actually did! He also voices Xavier himself, which, wow, I only found that out now. That's kind of weird that I didn't know that. But if that's not your thing, there's always Uzumaki, which, oh lord, my last video really aged like milk. Seriously, can companies just stop ruining productions of anime for once? It's still decent after the first episode, but the drop in quality is genuinely so upsetting. It's like watching your best friend start out a marathon incredibly strong in first place, only to shit themselves 20 minutes in and finishing last. But the less said about that disaster, the better. Unless, of course, you'd like me to talk about that once that concludes. Since once again, a substantial amount of you guys voted yes for me talking about the quality drop, so hey, once again, my channel has polls every now and then on videos I can make, so by all means, remember to jump into those polls and tell me what you want to hear next time, as at the end of the day, I just like making videos that you guys are going to watch because I spend many hours editing these myself, so it's a lot of fun. So with the failure of Uzumaki out of the way, brings us to probably the most fascinating part of Adult Swim's horror selection. I'm not talking about series with horror-centric episodes, no, I'm talking about the infomercial block that Adult Swim airs at ungodly hours of the morning, which truly put the fear of God in drunk alcoholics, children, and those who are too stoned to go to bed. And God bless Adult Swim schedulers for that. I've actually just recently touched on unedited footage of a bear, a moment of silence for that video's poor viewership, but this one is actually, I'd say, more special. In 2014, the entire internet was taken by storm by it, with people posting about Too Many Cooks just anywhere you went. It was damn near impossible to get away without seeing memes and clips from any moment from the short. And for good reason. Too Many Cooks, as the name suggests, gave us a literal metric ton of cooks. Sci-fi, sitcom, G.I. Joe, and, most importantly, horror. The short blended hundreds of television tropes, almost challenging the viewer to ask, is there really such a thing as Too Many Cooks? I think what gives Too Many Cooks an added level of unique insanity is that it long predates the kind of AI slop you'd see your friends posting online. Long before AI had even began to think up creating questionable pastiches of what it thinks are 80s or 90s dark fantasy, and staring at us like that for some reason. Why are they staring at us like that? Do they know something? We had one singular man's genuinely impressive idea to throw every character imaginable into a literal blender. This is one of those Adult Swim gems that if you haven't seen it before, well, are you Patrick Star because you need to be living under a rock? Seriously though, you need to experience it blind. So if you haven't seen it, step away and go watch it now. For anybody else, I'll continue talking about it. So, as you all probably know, it starts out as a harmless sitcom opening, the kind that has a goofy roll call of a wacky cast, but it quickly devolves into a genuine hellscape where Too Many Cooks, the concept, reaches a horrifying, damn near cosmic horror logical conclusion, reaching peak levels of meta-ness. It's actually kind of wild to think that for the most part, this was a passion project from the director-writer Casper Kelly. He was essentially given carte blanche to run with his insane concept of ever-increasing numbers of cooks while working on their current show, Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, which I should probably check that out. That looks very much up my alley. In fact, they were even given a full year to edit the project, which in hindsight is actually kind of insanely generous when you consider the length of what it ended up being. But as a fellow video editor, I can only imagine the nightmare that was compiling and cutting millions of hours of footage of what appears to be hundreds of unique characters. I seriously want to see what was on the cutting room floor, because goddamn, Casper Kelly was truly, dare I say, cooking with this short. Alright, simmer down. Let me be corny once in a while. And this short was only him testing the waters of how crazy he could get with his stories. Not only did he create Too Many Cooks, but he went on to direct a full-length movie for Adult Swim called Yule Log. Now, I don't want to linger too much on the details of it, because it also aired at night as a simple ambient Yule Log stream, which, surprise, actually turned out to be a full-length film that, just like Too Many Cooks, is just as equally horrifying as it is surreally silly. I mean, just look at that green alien outfit. That is just peak silliness. But that said, the director clearly has a knack for subverting and playing with tropes. Just like Too Many Cooks starts with a typical sitcom roll call, Yule Log actually opens with a peaceful shot of, you guessed it, a Yule log. Soon enough, you're forced to voyeuristically watch as a masked killer, oddly reminiscent of Leatherface, murders the housekeeper. And after this, it just gets increasingly weirder and weirder, and you really can't expect what's gonna happen next. I think that this reviewer on Rotten Tomatoes summed it up the best. I mean, when you really look at both Yule Log and Too Many Cooks, you realize that they're pretty much just Casper Kelly throwing everything into a blender, like a bunch of action figures, and just having fun with what he can pull up visually. If I were to try and explain Yule Log to you, it would just make absolutely no sense. It's something you need to experience because it just feels like your average game of Dead by Daylight. One moment you're up against some edgy teenagers wielding a knife and a Corn mixtape. The next you're immobilizing James Sunderland's physical embodiment of guilt and his craving for punishment with a common wooden pallet. Yeah, this big fella over here stopped by what your local restaurant has lying around in storage. Then, out of nowhere, you're Nicolas Cage getting absolutely demolished by a cosplayer whose entire identity revolves around her dad being a famous manga artist. And yes, this all happens in one game. But it's not supposed to make sense. It's stupid fun that's supposed to appeal to a very specific nerd who likes those horror properties. And one of them being me. Did I just use this as an excuse to ramble about a game that I have an inexcusably long amount of time spent playing? Yes, but I have a point. What I'm trying to get at is that his films are both just massive sandboxes for him to have fun with figures and characters that he can just throw random into the screen, and I greatly appreciate that.
Just something that we could do to hang out together and make something that we thought a couple of nerds that think like I do would enjoy, maybe if they happen to get a chance to see it.
Most of you have probably already seen Too Many Cooks, and it's been dissected to death already. At this point, I just want to make this video into an overall glazing of the very talented Casper Kelly. The man is a true unsung genius when it comes to creating visually creative and unhinged shorts and films. In the same vein as Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, both Kelly's works play with expectations from television and film and transform them into nightmarish experiences. In the case for Yule Log, it takes a jab at the lazy seasonal content that was usually coming out year to year. I'm looking at you, Shutter Yule Log, though Mad God Yule Log was actually pretty great. Look at those little guys go. As somebody who has watched every generic horror under the sun, I sincerely hope that Casper Kelly gets another shot at creating a film for Adultswim, or even a theatrical release. The man not only has the sauce for it, he also strikes me as the kind of guy that genuinely has an insane amount of fun creating what he loves. So, even if he's limited to just Adultswim, I'm certain he'll have an insane amount of fun creating whatever he has coming next, and we're all gonna be there prepared to be completely thrown off by what he's gonna do.